Along with shoot 'em ups, mech simulators are the other genre that I just don't care all that much for. Developed by Core Designs and published by Time Warner Interactive in the US, and self-published by Core in the UK, Battlecorps came blasting onto the Sega CD console in 1993. If you remember earlier this year, they also brought us AH3 Thunderstrike, and the gameplay for this is rather similar. Difference is, this is a mech simulator title, whereas the other is a helicopter shooter. Even though I'm not much a fan of these, I soldiered on for 3 sessions, close to 4 hours of tape for this review, so I could have a better understanding. The story is simple. Basically, humans are powering new super reactors with a very rare fuel that is only found on planet Mandelbrot's world. Mining colonies have been established and operations for mining began. Soon after, a competing mining company hacks the computer mainframe, turning all the mining machinery against the colonists there. Back on Earth, a team of professionals is dispatched to neutralize the threat and restore order back to the planet for mining to resume. Sounds easy enough. Now the mechanics of this game are fairly simple, as most mech warrior games go. You're playing first person in a giant mech thing and you steer and shoot. That's it. And since you're in a giant mech thing, it turns about as quickly as a cruise ship, so you have little hope to evade enemy fire. Your best option is to shoot them before they shoot you, and that's basically why I dislike this genre, because every encounter is almost an impossible feat to remain unscathed if you can't kill them first, as invariably you will sustain damage from basically everything you come across. There is no block, and the instruction manual mentioned that there are areas to recharge shields, but honestly I never saw this or encountered it anywhere. You start every level with the same amount of shields, and once they are devastated you will die, and you are given a pretty decent arsenal of weapons to use, ranging from flamethrower, grenade drop, multi-grenade drop, heat-seeking rocket launcher, machine gun that can overheat and stick, and so on. One of the things I thought was so interesting about this game is the amount of variety in landscapes you visit. Most mech warrior games are just an onslaught of bombed out cities. However, Battlecorps offers a pretty good variety of terrain and such. We have a rocky level with lava rivers, to an underground cave system, to what seems to be a toxic waste factory-like site, then an underwater level with some really interesting enemy encounters, a snowy cliff area, and so on. Now what's interesting is you then repeat these areas but with way more advanced enemies than your first visit. And I thought it was kind of cool that on the revisit to the lava planet, it was doing like what PUBG and Fortnite do, is there is constantly a moving wall of lava and you're trying to evade. And if it catches up to you, it drastically reduces your shields. I just thought it was interesting that this concept was in the game basically 25 years prior to the Battle Royale craze. And all this culminates on the last level, which is just nothing more than a particularly difficult final boss level. And it's worth noting that this game showcases the Sega CD's independent 3D scaling and rotation capability that honestly should have been used more often in games than they were. You notice this the most when rotating in this cave level and see the enemies behind the wall. Notice the wall, how it rotates with you as you rotate, kind of how those old PC first-person shooters did, like Wolfenstein Rise of the Triad. It kind of reminds me of the Sega Super Scalers, most prominently I'm thinking like Power Drift. Which as an aside, it makes me wonder how well the Sega CD hardware could have been able to handle Power Drift, as to this day US market never got a Sega hardware release of this amazing title. But I must digress. Like I stated earlier, this is developed by Core Designs, and they have done a nice handful of games for the platform, most sharing basically the same team. Music for Battlecorps was handled by the quite achieved Martin Iveson, who is now a DJ, goes by the moniker @Jazz. You can look him up on Spotify, he has a pretty impressive catalog. This is probably my favorite piece of Sega CD work that he has contributed. Just take it in for a moment. And he also contributed scoring for BC Racers, Chuck Rock 1 and 2, Jaguar XJ220, AH3 Thunderstrike, Wolfchild, and Wonder Dog. And graphic design was handled by Jason Gee. He also contributed design for BC Racers, Jaguar, and AH3 Thunderstrike as well. So I don't know if I can quite put this in the top tier of Sega CD releases, because for me, there are much better titles. I'm just not that fond of this genre as a whole. I will say that as this genre goes, this one seems a step ahead of the competition in the variety of landscapes alone. And the fact that this one takes place on a multitude of areas on a planet and not just various bombed out cities across America. So with that being said, it would at least be under the maybe you should check it out category. Definitely a weekend rental.